welcome to
Hello.
Hi, Twin. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Twin?
Yeah, I'm good. Welcome to the Twin Life podcast. I am one of your hostesses, Ashley.
Hostesses. And I am Amber.
Yeah. And we are excited this week because we have another really good episode. Thank you guys for listening last week. And I feel like we have like 5 solid people that listen to our podcasts in the first day every time. And I don't know who they are. They could be Blake, Mom, Derek, Pop Mitch, and Christian. But we thank you guys for listening. Or they could be 5 random people. Who knows? But thank you guys again for listening and sticking with us. And hopefully, if we gain 5 consistent listeners every month, we'll be going on up. So that said, how's your week, Twin? How's it going?
It's good. It was very boring here because there was a hurricane not too far, like in the south of Georgia. So it was raining all week. So we didn't really do anything because it was raining all week. So starting like Wednesday night, it was raining. So Tuesday, we did Taco Tuesday with Bo again, which was super fun. The kids played. We're very excited because they got to sit and play. We tried to play Marvel with them, but I don't know how you guys do it, but trying to play Marvel with a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old that don't really play video games was
Phoenix is low-key a master of video games. So
yeah.
He actually can play and know what he's doing. He just gets bored. Like, it's not interesting to him.
Yeah.
So he'll just and he can't really find himself.
Yeah, which is, it's hard for me to find myself sometimes when we're doing all the things. So
yeah, but he understands the concept. So he's actually not bad. It's just that he'll get stop halfway and get a drink of water or eat chips or something. It's no, you have to keep playing. So
yeah. We played. So we ended up switching them over to Mario Kart, and they weren't very good, but they were having fun. It was just weird to see because when we were kids, we were just really good at video games because we played so much. So seeing kids that aren't that great, but was kind of weird, but they're having fun, so that was nice. It kind of gave them something to occupy themselves, and because normally it's them coming in and out of the room and not focusing or having something to do while we're all hanging out. So it was nice for them to have something that they were literally just were sitting there really, really, really into, and weren't bored or weren't getting exiled to the bedroom or whatever. So so I think I definitely convinced Bo to get a Switch because she was saying she wanted to get a PS4, but I was like, you have 3 kids, you should get a Switch because they're gonna have so much fun playing it, and you're gonna have time to yourself simply because they're all doing something together.
Yeah.
So
that's what we all used to do.
Yeah, hours. The 4 of us.
The whole day.
Yeah, we would sit and play freaking Mario Party all day.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that was really fun this week, and then Blake leaves tomorrow for Indianapolis to finalize some work stuff.
Exciting.
So yes, and he broke he's been cracking. He finally popped the cherry in the bathroom, so he kind of broke through the wall. So he has kind of an idea of what he needs to do to finish the bathroom. Also, so the next couple of weeks are just going to be really go busy. So tomorrow, but it's really hard to plan because we don't know officially all of the details yet. So tomorrow we'll have way more information, and I will feel better because I will be able to plan things. Because right now I don't know what to plan, and it's frustrating.
Well, that's exciting.
But it is. It's very exciting. What about you?
So air quality is better here. So to put it in perspective, a lot of people don't know about air quality because Derek had no idea what that even. Never even paid attention to it. So I've been paying attention to the air quality because of the fires, and obviously that affects the air quality. San Diego's air quality isn't as bad as Los Angeles's on a regular average basis, but when there's a fire, obviously it gets up there. So an average air quality is somewhere between 0 and 51. Our air quality for 3 days in a row was 181. So that's very toxic air. So
that is awful. They weren't letting the kids outside at school, right?
I honestly, I don't know. I didn't ask them, but it is dangerous for people. It's basically dangerous for people that are
in the risk factor group.
But
additionally children. Yeah.
Yeah, it's dangerous for everyone in general. Just like long exposure to toxic air in general is dangerous. Um, so I've been like watching air quality. Had an interesting conversation with Derek about the air quality because he was like, "This is not a thing. Like he can go out, Phoenix can go outside." I was like, "Babe, no, it's a thing." So he asked the Google what the air quality was and what you're supposed to do if you have toxic air quality.
I was on the phone.
Yeah, she's like, you should wear a mask and this and that. I was like, see, told you. So we actually, some people are saying that wearing the masks doesn't help you resist the smoke or the toxic air. To me, it's got to be better than
sense.
It's got to be better than just basically straight breathing it. So, I mean, no, it's not like an actual hazmat type of situation, but it's still covering your mouth. And even when you go through a fire, that's the thing they tell you. They don't tell you to get a wet cloth and breathe into that, or they tell you at least cover your mouth. Like, I don't know, whatever. So Phoenix did wear a mask outside because of fires, not because of COVID. So, so that was interesting. And it was funny though, because we had a lot of people, like now that I'm thinking about this is probably why we went to the park and there were so many parents and kids with masks. And I was low-key looking at them like, what are they doing? They probably wearing masks because the air was so bad. That's probably what it was. Yeah. So we are back down to, I don't know, I haven't checked it today. Also to put in perspective, when I checked the air quality where Derek lives in New York, it was 26.
Oh, wow.
26. It was 181 here. So yeah, he's like, that's why you don't check the air quality. You have no reason to check the air quality. You have trees everywhere, like sucking up all the poison out of the air. Okay, so it says air quality today is 48. Bam, we are in the safety zone. Perfect. But you can kind of tell too, because there's been like this haze. Like it basically looks overcast, but it's not. It's just haze. So
yeah, I remember we lived in LA for a long time.
Yeah, so I went outside yesterday and I was like, oh my gosh, I can actually see the sun. It was really, really weird and creepy because the sun was getting like blotted out by all of the smoke and haze. So it just looked like this solid orange ball. Like Google it. If you guys haven't seen these pictures, it's crazy. The sun looked crazy. And it wasn't even as bad here because other places it's like the sky is basically black. But here it was just like a haze, but you couldn't even see the sun. Like you could look straight at the sun. Like because it was so much smoke. I mean, I wouldn't say stare at it or anything, but like it was enough that I could notice. It was like looking at the moon. It was weird. So yeah. But I'm glad the fact that there's no haze and the air quality is better is any sign that the fires are getting better. I'm assuming they're getting better. So that's good. One less thing to worry about this week as far as like, you know, craziness. And then Phoenix has been bugging us to go back to school on Fridays. He's also been getting mad at me because he feels like I've been picking him up from school too early. So
wait, I thought you were supposed to pick him up at 4. Did they extend the hours again?
I thought they closed at 4:30.
Yeah.
So I pick him up at 4.
Yeah.
Like 4:15 at the absolute latest, 4:15. But every time I pick him up, he's like, Mommy, we're gonna go play with our friends. I still want to play with my friends. I was like, school's over. Like, what do you mean? So Derek's like, I think his school is still in session until 5:30. And I was like, okay. So
you're gonna start picking him up at 5:30?
I don't know. Hell no. If I pick him up, well, first of all, it'll be almost dark in a couple of months.
Yeah.
At 5:30. So I definitely won't leave him at school till it's dark. He will hate that. But I will maybe I'll pick him up at 5. Maybe he'll be more tired. I don't know.
Wait, I'll give you a whole extra hour and a half.
What am I gonna do? What would I
do?
I don't know. With that whole extra 4 hours a week, man, I could do some. Honestly, though, 3 o'clock to me is like the worst time to like start preparing to go pick up Phoenix. Like it's just like by 3, I finished all of my tasks. I'm usually eating like a snack or something at that time of day. I'm like gonna go walk Sansa, like usually, and so I'm usually like rushing to get all those things done to get him from school at 4. And I know some people pick up their kids at like 2:45 or whatever, but anyways, so yeah, that's been one thing. And so I don't know, maybe we'll think about it. It's an extra $150, I think, a month for him to go.
But it's also like $60 to $5 for every like random Friday, right?
$65 for every random, yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll start getting expensive. So yeah, we'll see. But I mean, I think it's great. Whose kids are bugging them, like begging them to go back? A lot of kids actually right now are begging to go back to their school. So
yeah.
But anyways, okay. So let's get on to the Did You See, Did You Hears? I think we have like quite a few of them, and I want to get to our topic because I really like our topic this week.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll go first. So my first one is about this woman who, and honestly, I read this article very quickly this week, so I don't have the link for this article. It actually was an article, like somebody else posted it in like one of my mom groups, and I'm not trying to go back through and find it, so we won't have a link for this one, but it does bring up an interesting like conversation basically. So this woman was on an American Airlines flight recently, and she had her 2-year-old with her, and apparently American Airlines policy is that everyone has to wear a mask. Over 2 has to wear a mask.
Yeah, over 2.
And her, well, I thought it was 3 and over. That's what I thought the CDC said, was 3 and older, right?
Okay, so I feel like when I hear over 2, I think 3 and over, because my son is 2.5 years old, but I dare somebody to be like, is he 2? How is he 2 and 1 month? No, I'm not. If he still has a 2 in the front of it, I'm still 31 until I'm 32. So he is still 2 until he is 3. That's how I think about it. So
right. So
I don't know.
But my thought process is if he is 2 and older, so if he is in that second year,
yeah,
and over, then he has to wear a mask. Because if you think about it, you're counting like he's if he's 2, he's already been here for 3 years. We're counting the 3rd year right now.
I realize
you know what I'm
this
saying?
one, but
anyways, so that's not even the point. The point is that their rule is 2 and over, which is not. I don't care what anybody says. The CDC definitely said 3 and older. So because of suffocation, that's the biggest thing. And 2, they can't even put their own mask on. So I don't understand. Like, anyway,
they can definitely take them off. They just can't put them back on.
Yeah, they can take it off. They can't put it on. So this kid was not having it. Okay, he was apparently very, very, very upset. And the flight attendant was like, he needs to put a mask on. We're not going to be able to take off until he does put his mask on. He needs to wear it the entire flight, blah, 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 blah.
This woman clearly doesn't have children.
So the pilot gets involved. He says the kid has to wear a mask, whatever. They get off the flight. They deboard the whole flight. And then they don't let this lady get back on. Instead of like having a dramatic like Reddit and what's it called? Hip hop. What is it called? Where they put like all the ratchet videos of people fighting? World Star Hip Hop. They didn't want to be on World Star Hip Hop, so they decided that they were just going to deboard the whole plane, not let this woman get back on, as opposed to like dragging her and her son off the plane. I guess that's their new policy. So they had to deboard the whole plane. They wouldn't let this woman get back on her flight. They put her on another flight in hopes that her child will be calm enough to wear a mask for the entire flight. But that's wrong. Like, that's the CDC recommendation isn't even 2 and older. And first of all,
I don't understand why they had to. If you can sit in a restaurant without your mask, why do you have to have your mask while you're sitting in your, like, I understand if you're sitting in your seat on your flight, why do you need to wear a mask?
Because the air in the airplane's recycled.
The air in the airplane is filtered air. It has better filtration system than most people's homes. So the odds that you're going to get COVID from a flight, unless somebody coughs on you, you're not getting COVID from a flight. So that, again, makes zero sense. Like, people are like, yeah, it's perfectly safe to fly because planes they have to constantly filter the air so that there's clean oxygen in the airplane at all times. So you're not getting COVID from the air. So that literally, especially if she was probably sitting, like, to me, all she needed to do was just switch your child just needs to be on opposite seat. Like, put your child on the window side. You sit in the middle. The person next to you sits to the left. Like, my child's not next to you. Like, they're fine. You're fine. To me, it makes no sense. I understand. Like, I know American Airlines is now, like, they're not doing every other seat now, which I think is why they're really, really trying to, like, emphasize the mask situation, because you're sitting next to strangers. And so there's not social distancing on the plane, but they're making people wear masks. Again, makes zero sense. No sense whatsoever. And the fact that, I mean, and then as a mom, I'm like, like Landon sometimes wants to put his mask on because he likes to see us wearing the mask. He's like, "Oh, mommy, daddy have masks on, yay!" And like he puts Blake's glasses on or his hat on. You know, he thinks it's the same thing. But he's not going to keep. There's no way my son will keep. I don't want to keep a mask on for 6 hours on a plane.
Yeah, heck no.
I barely want to keep my mask on walking around the grocery store.
I know. For real.
So
that's like a full-blown workout situation walking around the Target now. I was listening to the Mom Hour, and they were talking about how going to the store used to be enjoyable. And she said recently she tried to take her daughter to like do some like air quotes school shopping. And she said like in like 30 minutes they were done. Because she's like, I was just so hot and like uncomfortable, and it like kind of killed the joy of like just perusing a store because it's hot. Like, yeah. And it was just uncomfortable. So
my Did You See this week is the new song Holy with Chance the Rapper, Justin Bieber featuring Chance the Rapper. And in the video, it's also featuring Wilder Valderrama, who is great.
And the black girl.
Yeah. Oh, his girlfriend.
Yeah, wife. I don't know what her name is, though.
I don't know what her name is.
Recognize the actress, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't recognize her. We're sorry, we don't recognize you, but you did a great job.
Yeah, she was great.
You're wonderful. But we, so I was listening to it first, and Blake like came in and was like, well, what are you listening to? I was like, it's the new Justin Bieber song. It's like, it kind of sounds like Justin Bieber as he starts bopping his head to it, because no matter what Justin Bieber song, he always has it's a banger every time. So it's always good. So, so then I watched the video by myself, and I'm like literally sitting there. Landon's sitting next to me, and I'm literally sitting there, and like the end of the video, and I just start crying, like I just start bawling. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh my God, like genuine tears. Like, yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, what's really, it was like genuine tears. So I was like, okay. So I got that out. I was like, I got that out of my system. I really want Blake to watch it, because Blake and I actually like watching videos together, and like we both get emotional and points and like movies and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm sure he will very much appreciate this video. And so he watches it, and we're watching it, and then it gets to the end, and he was just like, both of us just crying at the end of this video. And I was just like, oh my God, it was so good. Guys, go watch this video, listen to the song. Good. It's so good. So good.
Yeah.
It's got a really, really cool story, very relatable to like what's going on with a lot of people now. And you got to see Justin Bieber do a teeny tiny bit of acting, which was nice. He did a pretty good job. Yeah, he was like believable with this one line that he had.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was awesome. And it obviously really related to Blake, because Blake was Special Forces also. And apparently that's who Wilber Valderrama, good gracious, his name is a mouthful, character was. And I wouldn't know, but he had some sort of like patch on him that I guess was Special Forces. So Blake obviously automatically knew that he was Special Forces. And that's what Blake was. So he related to that too. So it was so good, guys. Go watch it.
Yeah, it's a really good video. Really good
so
stuff.
Good. But okay, so I guess we can get into. Are you ready to get in our topic? Or do you have any other?
Yes, let's get into our topic because I'm excited.
Okay, so our topic this week actually was spurred by Ashley, like just a conversation Ashley and I were having just randomly,
which is how it always works.
Yeah, we were talking about Married at First Sight and how there's a couple on there, Bennett and Amelia. And Amelia makes a comment about how she feels like Bennett should, because she's going to be the primary breadwinner, she shouldn't have to do any chores and he should have to do all the chores because she's going to be busy with her residency and all that stuff. Yeah. And Ashley and I were both like, well, that is just like, if that roles were reversed, people would be coming for her or for him. Like, how dare you say like a woman's place isn't just in the home and isn't just in the, blah, blah. She should be wanting to do more. And that, like, that's like.
Derek was like, a man can't even think those words. Like, you couldn't even think that. And people would come after you.
People would be coming for him. So, that got us starting to think like, that's so hypocritical. Like, what, like, there's so many double standards in life that women just like assume that men are supposed to do these things or that they're supposed to accept this. But then women have no issue doing the same thing, like directing the same behavior. So we're going to give you guys a couple examples of some double standards this week. And hopefully it gets you guys thinking about how you relate to either just the opposite sex or your spouse, because like, we just can't be living life like this. We can't be living life thinking that we're like talking about equality and then not really understanding what that means. Because I have no issue understanding that there are definitely not equal parts of my relationship. And I'm fine with that. I'm not really trying to be an equal. I'm trying to be an equal communicator, but equal roles is not my relationship. And I'm fine with that. That works because we both have different strengths in our relationship. So the first one, I like actually made notes on this one because we made some really good points in our conversation. I wanted to make sure we got it. So we talked about that one. So women having like similar expectations of men in reverse roles. So if a man is like the stay-at-home dad, in that situation with Amelia, that's what she wants, is to have a stay-at-home husband to take care of the kids. He should, like, for her to say, well, that's what you're supposed to be doing because you're the stay-at-home parent, is like, if the guy would have said that, it would have been done for. Like, people would have been like, it's like, what goes without saying, there would have been an eruption on Married at First Sight.
Yeah, for sure. They would have been like, that guy's a jerk.
Yeah.
Sexist. 2020.
Yeah, right. It's 2020, like modern women, like whatever, all the things. Another one actually was spurred from Working Moms, a show that's fantastic on Netflix. If you've not watched this show, it is hilarious. Yes. And it is awesome. She was talking about how the main character was talking about how how nobody ever asks her husband who's watching the kids. Like, she runs her own business. People are always asking her, like, well, who's at home with your kids? Is your husband babysitting? Like, no, like, that's his kid. He's not babysitting. I'm at work. He got home first, or we have a babysitter, or we have like a childcare person, or they're at school, whatever. Like, to the assumption, and I actually can totally relate to this one, so I'll let you take it because I know that you've like been asked this question.
Yeah. So the funny part about it is, like, I have worked, like, there's twofold, because I had a separate conversation this week that's related to this. But when I was working at Applebee's full time, if ever I wanted to go out or I want to go this, people would always ask me, and it was always women too. Men never asked this question, like never asked me this question. But I mean, maybe other people, men do this. But it was usually women, and they would be like, "Oh, so who's watching your kids?" And I'm like, and to me, and I said this, if you're single, then I feel like there's a little bit more relevance in that, where it's like, is your grandmother watching them? Or like, oh, you have a really good childcare situation. Like, that would be like my investigative mind being like, oh, I know that you're a single parent. Who are they? Whatever. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be coming out.
And like more of a recommendation like situation where it's like, oh, I wonder who's watching their kids. Like, can I get the babysitter's number from my kids? Yeah.
So, but for me, it was a lot of like, oh, is Derek babysitting? Now, my situation is different, obviously, because Derek not being the biological father, I take a little bit more offense to that, because I'm like, no, he's not babysitting. Like, he has been raising him for almost 4 years now. He's not babysitting him. He is like raising him,
being a dad.
With him. He's parenting him. He's being a dad. So it's just very, very confusing. And then on that same note of double standards, I was talking to another mom today, and we did a whole podcast about how mothers are getting affected right now with COVID and like their ability to work and all of this stuff. I was talking to a mom this week in my F45 class, and she was saying that whenever she talks to her male bosses, they're very much like telling her, and her husband works outside the home. She has 4 kids at home right now who are virtual learning, and she works full time from home.
Wow.
I don't even know how it's possible, to be honest, but that's what she does. So her boss has been sort of getting on her because he's like, well, you're not getting your work done like you're supposed to be doing. You're not getting projects turned in. She's like, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't have a partner here. I have 4 kids that need to go to school virtually, and I need to be and I have to work. Like, that can't work. Like, my kids need me. So I don't know what you want me to do. And I told her, I was like, the reason that he probably doesn't understand this is because this man probably has a spouse at home who is allowing him to work solidly for 8 hours, no interruption. Huge double standard. So when she said she had that conversation with him, like, look, I don't have my spouse doing everything for me so I can work. Or sacrificing their own job so I can work. And he was like, oh yeah, you're right. That's probably true. Yeah, it is true. Your spouse is doing everything to allow you to work. So, and if you're a female in the workplace, you're not getting that. So, anyways, huge double standard. And yeah, if she's on the call, it's like, it's almost like, oh, you should be watching them, but at the same time, like, God, can't you just get your kids quiet for a few minutes so that you can do this? No,
No,
it's not
it
how it
doesn't work
works.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other one is one that I think people are probably going to think is a little bit more controversial, but especially with some of like the weird things going on in Netflix, in the world of Netflix right now. But the Romeo and Juliet laws. So people, if you reverse the ages, so basically if you don't know what a Romeo and Juliet law is, it's a 2-year difference between your age, like the minor's age and the older kid. But if they get together as minors and that minor turns like 18, as long as there's 2 years between them and as long as they were dating as minors, they should still be able to continue to date.
Yeah.
What that means. But we were talking about it, and like that's okay if it's a girl and a younger girl and an older guy, or people are more upset about it. If it's a younger girl and an older guy, then like I'm sure a lot of parents are like, well, he's 18 and she's 16 and there it's illegal, and whatever, she's 15 and he's 18. I'm like, they were in high school at the same time.
Yeah.
You didn't magically become a different human because you turned 18. But people think that, or like, and even in the situation, like this is a weird one because it's like the ages are different. But people have this idea that younger women are apparently stupid and younger men are apparently somehow more intelligent and more like sexually aware than younger women. There was the guy that was on Ninja Warrior. Did we actually talk about his story? Or did you and I just talk about it? I don't know if we did.
I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast.
Okay, so you explain the story because you know it better because you like more familiar with Ninja Warrior, but it's gonna go back to this Romeo and Juliet law. But explain the story.
So basically, there's this guy called Joel.
You don't have to say his name. Oh, Drew Dressel. Okay.
And the name was right there. He is won Ninja Warrior last year, so won the $1 million. He's one of 2 people to win the $1 million. He is by far Derek's favorite ninja. Like Derek would stop everything he wouldn't watch the whole episode. And if I was like, babe, Drew Dressel was coming on, he would literally come watch him do his run. He ran with headphones all the time, like every single time ran with headphones. Very few times fell. Always went. Anyways, amazing ninja. So comes out recently that he apparently had a sexual affair, I guess, with a child. She was 14 turning 15. So in my head, as a 31-year-old woman, she's a child. Okay. He was not a child. He was in his 20s when this happened, like 25 or something. And he swears he didn't know that she was 14. And I'm going to have to call some straight bullshit on that because I don't care how old 14-year-olds look now. There's some big.
They don't look 21. They don't look legal.
Yeah, there'd definitely be a conversation where it's like, you may not be 18. You're definitely not 21. So, anyways, basically, he got charged with, like, he has some sexual pornography charges. Obviously, having sex with a child, all this stuff.
Poor guy. He was engaged and everything. Sad.
Engaged. His girl just had a baby too. So
yeah. The main issue was
he apparently was having this situation with her for a while. It wasn't like, so apparently they had sex behind a warped wall in a ninja studio. And my thought process behind it was a couple of things, which goes in the double standard. She's 14 years old.
The mom knew.
And she still had, Drew Dressel apparently still had access to this girl enough to have sex with her multiple times and to text her. And there was sending, like, asking her to send him sexually explicit photos and things like that. So I'm sort of like looking at the mom going, why were we not paying attention? But on the other hand, people are like, well, she was 14, she didn't know. Calling bullshit on that too.
Bullshit.
Maybe she was in awe of him because he is Drew Dreshel, and if she's a ninja, like a girl that wants to be a famous ninja warrior, yeah, Drew Dreshel is like that is the best in the sport, right? So if like LeBron James was teaching you basketball, like you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, like he's so great. And then if LeBron James was like, hey, I want to have sex with you, I feel like some girls would be like, oh yes, like that's gonna make my career better. Is that right or wrong? It's definitely wrong. But it is a double standard because it's like this girl's she's not as stupid as she thinks. She had sex with him multiple times. She knows they're not of age. She knows it's illegal. She knows he can get in trouble. Like, to me, it seems very manipulative on her part. Now, on the other hand, he's a grown man. You can't have sex with people that your own age or your girlfriend. Like, I'm so confused by this. So, and it went on for a long time. Apparently she didn't talk about it until she was 19, and she's coming out saying now that it was a very traumatic time in her life and whatever. Anyways. So yeah, that's basically the situation. Very weird.
So my thought process on it is, if it was reversed, if it would have been like a 14 or 15-year-old kid with like his teacher who's like in her 20s, I feel like people would have just a totally different perspective. Granted, it's the same thing. Like, she's grown. She's 25 years old. That's weird and gross that she would want to sleep with a child. Right?
Yeah.
But I think that people underestimate the intelligence of like teenagers, because teenagers aren't stupid. They're not as stupid as people try to make them seem. They can be just as manipulative and just as deceiving and lie. Like, have you met a teenager? They can lie. They can do all the things. Like, they can be just as manipulative. They're not stupid. The issue is they're not being held accountable for it. The adult is, which is right. But I feel like that's a double standard. I feel like if there was some sort of like physical force involved, okay. But I think the child, the 14, 15-year-old, now younger than that, yes. But if you're high school age, like, you're aware of the fact that you should not be having sex with the 25-year-old. You also are aware that if you are not upfront about your age with them, that could get them in trouble if you lie to them. Like, if you lie to a grown person about your age and then they're the ones who get arrested, they're the ones who are becoming the predator. To me, it's unfair because they're adults. Do your due diligence. Don't be an idiot. But I feel like there's got to be some way to hold like them accountable in some way. Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And I think people's issue is like, it's very much about like not blame, quote,
don't blame the victim.
Yeah. And to me, a 17-year-old or 16-year-old that gets in a relationship, like Degrassi is a perfect example. There were a few girls on that show.
Or Pretty Little Liars.
That slept with their teacher.
Pretty Little Liars.
Lucy Hale's character does sleep with her teacher,
She was 16. Right? She marries him later.
Yeah. Exactly. See? That was and to me, I think that show like normalized something that to me is weird. Like, that was a little bit weird to me. Like, he's 25, she's 16. Come on, people. Like,
yeah.
That's too. They need to stop having people in their 20s.
Blake and I have that age difference. But he wouldn't have even tried to date me if I was like under 20. Like, if I was under 21 or under 25, he probably wouldn't even date me, because adults don't want to date children.
Yeah.
Bottom line, grown people don't want to date children. Like, I'm not if all the chemicals are right in your brain, that's not something you want. So, in summation, I feel like there are lots of things when it comes to relationships with younger people, just in general, and with opposite gender, that people are just assuming that young girls are stupid, and they just this man, they're just so in awe of this man that they just couldn't help or control themselves. Bull. But a young kid, like a young guy kid, is just like, oh, high five, dude, you hooked up with the hot freaking English teacher. Like, that's, you know what I mean? And then like, it's just such a horrifying double standard. Again, like, also that kind of stuff doesn't come out. Like, the conversation that you have with your son for sleeping with his 25-year-old teacher is, please don't get her, like, you don't want to get her knocked up. the opposite conversation is, well, he raped her and totally took advantage of her. And she's like, I feel like to me, it's degrading to the intelligence of women and young women. They're not as stupid as people try to make them seem in those
Especially
situations.
since it's very, in the last 100 years, 150 years, that women stopped getting married young.
Yeah.
Like, and people are like, well, that was horrible then. No, it wasn't. It was just the way it was. Like, there's proof that Mary was 15 when she had Jesus. We don't know how old he was. Older, though, for sure.
Joseph.
He was old. He was way older, like, than her. But that's how it was. Like, because women only have 15 to 20 childbearing, quote unquote, childbearing years. Back then, there was no IVF, so we're not extending the years you can have children. You only have like 15, 20 years. But you have about 15 years. If you have you have your cycle at a normal time between 13 and 15, you have about 15. You can stretch it to maybe 20 years. That's not that long. Especially when guys went back then, they were trying to have as many kids as possible. That's not that many years to be having a kid. You realistically can get pregnant once every other year. So, like, that's 7 kids in 15 years. So, like, it's literally like and for men can have kids till they're freaking 90, like, whatever. As long as, they take care of their bodies, like, they're fine. So that's kind of why it was that way. But I also think there's Romeo and Juliet. The reason they have the laws, they were babies when that was written, and that wasn't weird. It was not weird.
Yeah, it wasn't even. The thing was, it's like Romeo was supposed to be older. He's never portrayed older when you watch the movies or whatever. But
because people
he was
think it was
a lot.
Weird.
Yes, but he was a lot older because that's just how it was. They were marrying off 15 years old was considered a woman. Not very long ago, 150, 200 years ago, not long ago. So people have altered it and made it to where now women are idiots and they're stupid now at 15 when they were caring for their siblings and like running whole households and all the things at 15. Like,
yeah,
they're not stupid. Okay, so the next one is the last one. The double standard with female and male athletes. So there's a lot of people that feel like if you are a guy, and this one is probably one that people kind of notice that's pretty common, but if you're a guy, dancing, ice skating, gymnastics, cheer, those are all female sports and guys shouldn't do them. And then there's but like that's kind of like the rigid mindset. If you're doing those sports, you've got to be gay. You can't be a fantastic straight dancer or cheerleader or like if you're a guy, you're gay if you're doing those. Bravo, you're fantastic, but you're gay. Which is why there aren't very many of them. But on the other hand, if women want to do things like play football or baseball, or like the bravo to the 13-year-old girl that was in the World Series for the kids, the little kid, What's it called?
Because they don't have a girls.
Yeah, because they don't have a
baseball.
World Series of baseball. Little League World Series. They don't have a little girls baseball team. They have a softball team, but I don't think I don't think they have kids softball because the balls are so big. So she played baseball. She's a fantastic pitcher. But when she got into high school or college, she couldn't play after Little League. She couldn't play baseball because it's a male sport. And people are like, well, that's sexist. To me, it's not sexist. There is softball. Play softball. There is women's basketball. There's no reason for women to play in men's basketball. There is women's basketball. It's not as like revered and people don't pay attention to it, but like it's like there's also women's tennis. There's women's golf. I feel like it's important that if you're going to compete, that people should be competing in their gender appropriate sports and not think of it. But people are more thinking of it as like, well, power to the women. Like that girl wants to be in the NFL. That girl, that's awesome. She should do that. That girl wants to play baseball. Why? To me, it's like, why? Like, I don't understand as a woman why you would want to play football. Why do you want, with grown men, with 250, 300 pound men? Why? What are you trying to prove to the world? That makes no sense to me. It literally makes no sense. Like,
I think the biggest thing for Derek, because Derek was like explaining this to me, because I was like, I mean, my thought process behind it is a little bit, I guess it's a little bit different than yours, but my thought process behind it is if she gets to the point where she gets drafted to the NFL, she's freaking gangster. Just saying. Because a coach from an NFL team watched her play and was like, she can outplay anybody I've ever, any man, any whatever. And she got drafted. That girl should play. If she plays football long enough at the college level, the collegiate level, that she's so gangster that she smokes all the boys on her, all the men on her team, and they draft her to the NFL, they should let her play. That's all I'm saying. I don't think there should be like a boundary that it's like, it should be the best athlete, but there should be the best athlete in general. Now, okay, Derek's thought process as a 6'4", 250-pound man, if, you know, Susie over here, who is super fit, like she's I don't know.
Why did you have to pick the daintiest name ever? Susie. Okay, go ahead.
if she is, let's see, what's a high weight for a high fit weight? 160 pounds, 5'8", just pure freaking muscle and speed and whatever, like the girls in Titan games. Okay, those girls are raw. Should they play football against men? Football's already destroying men in general. Like, they have so many concussions, they break their backs, they have to have surgeries on their knees and their elbows and their, what's his name that keeps getting from the Cowboys, that keeps messing up his neck?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Van Der Esch.
Yeah, he has this permanent neck injury. Like, he literally played one game and he's already has a neck injury and like whatever. And I think that those are men who are literally like in the best shape ever, very young, in the best shape ever. Like, I don't care what you do. There's no way, if you're a female, even at the peak of your, unless you're freaking Wonder Woman, at the peak of your physical fitness, would you be able to endure a tackle by 3 or 4 260, 300-pound men?
Yeah.
I just don't, like, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know.
I just don't. Another thing too is like, again, all these things are like, that's a sexist. I don't think it is. When you're talking about like a men's locker room or a men's plane ride, like, it changes the dynamic of a female locker room to put a dude in it. It changes the dynamic of a male locker room to put women in it. Or she's by herself all the time. Because she has to have a separate locker room. Now she has to have regular, like, probably hormone checks and making sure she's having regular periods. Hopefully she doesn't get like sexually assaulted, because it's not like athletes aren't known for that. Like, there's all these things like that are just, it's a dangerous world for a woman to be in. And I don't think that I wouldn't want, if I had a daughter, I wouldn't want my daughter playing in the NFL. I don't want her surrounded by herself by that many dudes.
Derek said he would let our daughter play in MMA or be in MMA.
Sure, MMA. There is female MMA.
Yeah,
they aren't wrestling men. That's my point.
No, they're not.
That is my point. The reason there are women that are wanting to play NFL so bad is because NFL doesn't have a professional level female sports women's team. So of course women feel like they have to infiltrate the one sport that they don't have. I don't think there's not a professional softball league. I think softball stops in college. But again, like, I don't find WNBA as interesting. I did when I played basketball, because it was interesting for me to watch. I prefer to watch NBA, as do most people. Again, that it may be sexist. It's also a double standard. But again, it's just people understanding. I think this is my opinion. You don't have to understand my opinion. This is my opinion. I feel that it is a double standard for people to feel like men can totally infiltrate female sports, or can't infiltrate female sports. But then when women want to do it, it's like, yes, go do it. Take on the men, girl. Like, no.
Yeah. It is a double standard, and I agree. Like, I think, and as you know, we both have boys. As a mom of boys, like, I told Derek, I was like, if Phoenix wants to be a cheerleader, that's almost a guaranteed full ride scholarship to any freaking school he wants to go to in the country. And
because he is a boy.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be a man, a very, very fit, very strong man. It makes perfect sense. Like, to go be male cheerleaders are like phenomenal. Now, the women are amazing too, but male cheerleaders are great because they're just naturally men were built to be hunters and gatherers. This is what they're supposed to go out there and they're supposed to be muscular and build stuff and hunt stuff and do whatever. That's why their bodies are built the same way. We're meant to have birth. That's why when I do a squat, I can squat more than Derek because I need my legs and my core. Yeah. Like, these are just things that like our bodies are built for different things. And you can see that even in training. When you see men that train for some type of weight competition, they have tiny little legs like Superman. And the women have these huge legs. They can crush your whole entire face with their freaking, like, in some men who train their lower body, they do have legs that strong, but men don't like to train their lower body. You know why? Because it's naturally weaker. Just like I don't want to train my work out my traps because what do I need traps for? Like, for what? What do I need these muscles? Nothing. Like, I don't need that for anything. But anyways, yeah, I agree. I think it's a double standard. I think it's just we need to just do, like, in the effort of being equal, I think sometimes feminists
need to acknowledge the differences.
But acknowledge the differences, but also at the same time recognizing that, and this is a thing with kind of ties into Black Lives Matter. No one is saying that the big thing that people have been saying is like, let's not be so freaked out about making everybody the same. No, that's why you don't say things like, oh, I don't see color. No, see the color and see the differences and embrace the differences. We are women. They are men. Derek can grab things off high shelves because he's giant. I'm so happy I have a partner. That's why I have a partner to do the things that I'm not strong at. I can't do. I have a dining room table sitting in my garage right now that I need to get up to the second story. Do you think I'm going to go down there and lift it when I have Derek to help me? No. Could I? If I absolutely had to.
Ashley and I have moved just the two of us.
Many a heavy thing.
So we can do it.
But at the same time, it's definitely going to take a lot more effort for me to do it versus Derek because he's just naturally strong. You know what I mean? And I mean, there's some skinny people that are not men that are not naturally strong. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, like, if they work at it, there's just gifts that men naturally have and gifts women naturally have. Like, women, there's no reason for a guy to be out here going, I want to give birth. You have the guys trying to breastfeed and stuff. I'm like, just stop. Just stop. Here's a line. This is a line. Stay on your side. Stay in your lane. Like,
honestly, that kind of stuff. Okay,
stay in your lane.
This will be the last thing we'll talk about because we got to get into our go girls and no girls. But I feel like that, to me, offends me so much that a man wants to give birth or breastfeed. Like, no, that is not your responsibility. It is mine, not yours, mine. It will always be mine. It's the thing that divides females from males. The womb, breastfeeding, giving birth, all the things, that is what separates us. And that is what makes women, that giving birth is the most powerful thing I've ever done in my life. You don't get to have it. It's mine. It's all mine.
And also, you men who decide randomly at 30 to give birth, they didn't menstruate for 20 years to get there. So
yeah,
there you go. You're suddenly you're gonna have to have a period for 20 years and then you can have a baby.
Yes, you get to have a period and boobs and cramping and all that stuff, and then you can give birth.
Yeah.
Okay. So on that note, double standards. Acknowledge them in your life and let us know if you think of any other double standards you guys come across this week. But we're gonna get into our go girl and no girl.
Yes.
I don't really think I have a go girl this week, but I didn't have a no girl last week. I do have one this week, and it is a very blatantly obvious one because I closed my son's fingers in the trunk.
Oh yeah,
and it was awful. So first of all, let me lead with, he is fine. His fingers are fine. He was fine 30 seconds later. Blake and I, on the other hand, were shaking for a good solid 30 minutes after the fact. So we were getting groceries out of the trunk. and he was standing in front of me. Like there's the trunk, then Landon, then me. And I'm standing behind him and I'm talking to Blake, and Blake's like loading up this cart with the groceries because in the condo they have carts. So we don't have to carry 7 loads upstairs. And so Landon's standing in front of the trunk, and I literally touched his little head, and I said, Landon, back, because he was trying to help grab groceries. And I was like, Landon, no. I literally pushed his little head and pushed him back. And Blake grabs the last bag. I look up to listen to what he said. I closed the trunk, and Landon had stuck his fingers back in the trunk. And we closed his fingers right on the trunk. And like, thankfully, he didn't stick his hand all the way in the trunk. But had he done that, it probably would have had a little bit of bounce, and it probably wouldn't have shut all the way.
Yeah.
But it closed, and it was like in the, like, basically like there's like a space, there's like a ridge. Like it wasn't his fingers weren't sitting on the rubbery part. It was just in the ridge. So they more got stuck than anything. They were just stuck in there.
And he has tiny fingers.
He has tiny, yeah. So there was a strong pause in Landon's voice, but I closed them in the thing. And I think I honest to God think it just freaked him out more that his fingers were stuck in there. Of course, it probably hurt, but I think it freaked him out more that his hand was stuck in there. And so I'm like, of course, I've got the keys. And this is a new car, by the way. So I have the keys in my pocket where I'm wearing sweats. So I was trying to like get the keys out of my pocket. And Blake's like, babe, can you hand me the keys? Hand me the keys. I'm trying to get the keys out of my pocket. And like Blake's trying to take the keys from me because apparently I was like, stop trying to take the keys from me. Let me push the button. And so Landon is fine. Lo and behold, Blake called me days ago and was like, there's for sure a button underneath the trunk.
An emergency button?
Yeah, like the button to open the trunk from the outside. Because some trunks you can't open your trunk from the outside. You have to push the button.
Yeah, I have that button on my trunk.
We didn't have that. I didn't know where the button was.
There was a button. The trunk with my keys. I'm pretty sure you have to press the button.
Yeah, no, we can pop the trunk with the keys, and there's a thing inside the car. So I guess it just never like. I literally thought, oh, there's probably a button, but to me it was like I don't want to waste time trying to find this button. I know the keys have a button on them. Let's do this. We can practice opening the trunk with the button later. So there is a button on the trunk for next time. But yeah, that was awful. And Blake and I were way more upset about it. Blake literally picked up Landon. He checked his hand, and Landon literally used the same hand that he got caught in the trunk to wipe his tears off his face. So he was fine. He is totally fine. His hand was a little bit swollen, but he was completely fine. He was grabbing things earlier, like right after, and like he was totally fine. But I was literally like shaking.
I'm sure.
So that sucked really bad. So your turn.
Okay. So I have a go girl and a no girl. The go girl is an old one, but I don't think I've ever talked about it on the podcast. And since you're talking about slamming your son's fingers in a car door, Phoenix almost fell out of a window. So
what? I'm sorry. When was
I told you this story. When I tell the story, you'll remember. So Phoenix, because I called you. So on our second story, okay, and the funny part about this is Derek, sometimes I think, okay, babe, you're being dramatic, and I should have listened to him when he told me this.
So much.
So on the second story of our it's 3-story condo. On the second story of our condo, there's a window like right at the landing before you go up to the 3rd floor. Which Derek's like, well, that's a stupid place for a window. What if you fall and you fall out the window? And I was like,
why is somebody trying to climb out the side window?
I was like, who's going to roll down the stairs out the window? Like, this is not freaking.
Wait.
Like, we're not.
Wait, roll down your 3rd story stairs through the window.
Yeah. Like if you rolled enough, like you realistically could, if you lost control, roll into the window.
That window's pretty high, twin.
It's a little bit. Exactly. I was like, what's that? So when it was cooler in the spring when we moved in here, I had all the windows open because it gets really hot in the 2nd story, and I was like, let me open up the windows to get some air. So I opened up the window. It has a screen, but I opened it up. Plus Sansa loves to look out that window. So I opened the window. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm downstairs. I'm watching a show. Phoenix came upstairs to do something. And I was like, Phoenix, what are you doing, buddy? And he was like, I'm looking out the window with Sansa. So he's like looking out the window. He leans on the window and pushed the screen out. So he comes downstairs and he goes, Mommy, I broke something. And I was like, oh my God, what did you break? Like, seriously? He's like, well, I have to show you. And I was like, okay, Phoenix, like, really? Can you just bring it to me? He's like, no, I can't bring it to you. So I go upstairs, I'm looking like, what did you break? And I look and the screen is pushed out. I was like, who pushed the screen out, Phoenix? And he's like, and I was like, did Sansa push it out? He's like, no, I pushed it out. I was leaning on it and I pushed the screen out. When I tell you, like, even now, like, my heart is like beating so fast. Like, I was literally downstairs and he could have just fallen. Anyways, so that's my no girl. To know.
You never told me that.
I swear I told you.
You never told me that Phoenix almost fell out the window. Not one time you ever told me the story.
He almost fell out of the window. And I had to wait to tell Derek because I was so freaked out and I was shaking. And I didn't want to, like, upset his day. So I told him. Plus, Phoenix said, I broke the screen. And Derek was like, wait, you broke the screen on the window? Which automatically equates to he almost fell out the window because he had me pushing on it hard enough for it to go out. Anyways, so we haven't fixed the screen. I have yet to open that window again. And that was like 2.5 months ago. So it's forever locked.
That's
for
crazy.
all I care, they can seal the window shut. Okay, but my go girl this week is that I unfollowed this other mom yesterday on Instagram because she was talking about she was saying something about Christians being too soft, and that people are saying that as a Christian you can't just vote for a president based on one thing you don't agree with, like abortion was the example she used. And she's like, that is exactly why I voted for Trump, because he is not pro-choice. He is against abortion. And I was like, is he though? Like, is he? I would say that Donald Trump, as rich as he is, he's played for an abortion or two in his life. Just saying.
Yeah.
The second thing was, she said that she wanted to offer her prayers to anybody. If you've had an abortion, she wanted to offer her prayers to you, and to say that if you need somebody, I can direct you towards forgiveness because God can forgive anything, and that it's a sin, but there's no sin too big for. So I unfollowed her.
Who? You're gonna have to tell me after we record the podcast who that was.
Yeah. So I unfollowed.
Is it somebody I know?
It really upset me. It's not somebody that we know well. No. I'm pretty sure she's friends of some of the moms and mops. I don't think I've ever actually met her in person.
Okay. So I probably don't follow her then.
Yeah. So she said some things here and there that kind of like bugged me. And I was just like, you know what? That was like the last. And she was saying like some negative things about the Supreme Court justice who died recently that everybody's been posting about.
Yeah.
I think you're frozen, twin. Oh, you're unfrozen. Yeah, so she was saying some negative things about, she basically called her Satan and said that we shouldn't be upset because this woman died because she was perpetuating like negative things by allowing the LGBTQ community to vote and Roe versus Wade and helping with women's rights. Like, so I was like, we're just going to unfollow you because you're just very negative. So that's my go girl for this week.
Follow people that are negative. Unfollow people that are negative.
Yeah, feel free to unfollow all the people that are negative because, it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a big post, especially I hate when people use Christianity to like.
I hate that. Don't use Christianity.
Endow you with so much guilt.
Yeah, that's not what it's about. But I mean, we could go all day about Christianity, but I have a Cowboys game to watch.
Yeah.
So.
And we went over our time probably already. So. Yeah. On that note, we're going to watch the Cowboys game, but we hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Happy Hump Day, because our podcast comes out on Wednesdays. I don't think I've ever said that. Happy Hump Day. Woohoo.
Happy Hump Day.
If you're listening to us on Wednesday. And go ahead and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the bell so you're notified whenever there's a new video. Or if you're listening to us on any of our podcast streaming services, we are now.
Including Amazon.
We're now on Amazon Podcast. They launched a new format. So we are on there as well. So you can use your Alexa or your whatever. Amazon, if you have an Android, which why on earth would you have an Android? But if you have one and you listen to us on Amazon, you can go ahead and do that. And other than that, everything will be in the description, any links you need. And we will talk to you guys next week. Later. Bye.